Hello friends of the electrified charging fun and welcome to Electrified Speicher, where today we are doing our summer trip on my well-known test course here in the Swiss Alps. And we do it with this model here, an Elroq 85. But maybe you now ask, where is the summer? You've got the car, but not the weather, and you're right. I have this Elroq for just about a week, and tomorrow I have to give it back to Škoda. So this is the last day where I could do this video, yet well, we have a cloudy day and it's just up to 25 degrees Celsius. Yet all days before were full of rain and just up to 15 degrees Celsius, so no way to do a summer test. And yes, in about 3 days we get up to 33 degrees, yet I do not have the car anymore, so we have to take the day as it is. And now we go on that test course, which I drive also in autumn and winter and spring, so you get a good impression what this car, so the same model, is capable of, as I drove an Elroq 85 in winter times on this test course. And now let's go. So the car we take on the test course is this graphite grey Elroq 85. So it's not an all-wheel drive car, it's not a sport line. We've got the rear engine with 210 kilowatts. And what I like really on this car is it does not have the 21-inch show and shine wheels. It has the basic 19-inch wheels Regulus. These cost a bit of money if you want them. The standard is also a 19-inch wheel, yet not this one. And we've got a Hankook Ventus S1 Evo 3 EV tire. And this is great, especially because in winter times we also had 19-inch wheels on the car. And when we get to the interior, well, let's talk about the settings. All of my test drives are done with. And first off, I'm always driving in the mode normal. So the car is set here to normal. The AC now is set to 21 degrees. In wintertime, sometimes it's 22 degrees, depending on the outside temperature. Also, I always start that test course at 80% SOC. And regarding driving, well, I'm switching between D and B as I like, because we have an alpine pass where I use B, and most of the time I will make use of the travel assist. Yet I will also try to apply my own efficiency tips on that route, but not driving too slow. So in general, I have the same average speed, plus minus 3 to 4 kilometers an hour on that road. Here you see our course. We start here in Mels. Then we drove a lot of motorway highway towards Landquart. Then starting in Landquart, we are driving country road with about 80 kilometers an hour here to Klosters. And then it's going up on Alpine Pass 1,200, 1,400 meters of height to Davos. In Davos, we already see some traffic jam as we drive through the city, of course. Then we are driving all the way down to Thusis, where we again drive through the city. And this is merely 80. And then the part from here up to Bonaduz is about 100 kilometers an hour. And from Bonaduz up to Mels, we can again drive on the Swiss highway with 120. We have lots of construction sites, but this is a fine mix between the highway, motorway, the country road, and driving through city. Therefore, I like this course a lot. Now let's have a quick look at our stopovers and look at the SOC estimates. It estimates that we hit Davos with 61% and Thusis with 59%. Here you already see the decline from the pass and how less energy it will use or thinks it uses. And on Mels, we are back with 50%. And we check at every stop over whether this is true or not. Also, I have my car scanner plugged to the OBD port and gather some data from the car for more calculation afterwards, so that we can do a nice comparison with the winter trip. And now let's hit the road, and whilst we're on the road, I will talk about one or the other topic as well. Whilst I'm already driving on the country road through the beautiful Swiss Alps here, let me turn the camera around for you so that you can see. Let's talk about a mailbox classic of mine. because one topic arrives about 2 or 3 or even more times a week, and that is the question, why is there such a big difference between summer driving and winter driving in EV, whilst I do not have that with my combustion engine car? And these mails are not to blame EVs. Those people really want to understand why it is like it is, and therefore I'll always reply and give the explanation. And therefore I thought, let's put it in that video, because it's an interesting topic. Well, first off, it is simply because an EV is so efficient with this little amount of energy it carries with it, so that you can see every little influence and detail, whilst the combustion engine car is so inefficient with the vast amount of energy it has with itself. So let's discuss this a bit deeper. If you've got a combustion engine car with a 50-liter tank with diesel, a fuel tank with diesel, well, you carry around 480 kilowatt hours. And your Elroq 85 like this one, 77 kilowatt hours. Look at that huge difference and how efficient the EV uses this. I do not want to blame combustion engines here, perfectly fine for me, just to showcase you. And thus, the combustion engine car driver doesn't see that much of a difference, because a lot of energy is already wasted into heat. And heat is one of the crucial parts here. The EV doesn't produce a lot of heat, thus it needs a lot of heat in wintertime. For example, to heat up the battery, because your battery is best operated at 20 degrees plus, 25 to 30 degrees Celsius is the optimum, and you don't have that in wintertime. Sometimes the car even has to preheat the battery. And of course, you need way more heating in winter because you want it cozy in your car. And the amount of energy needed for that in your combustion engine car, well, that barely counts in, whilst in your EV, everything out of this comes from your high voltage battery. And now, since we've got summer, let's move on to the summer and look at the differences here, because there are 4 major points. First one in summertime is, well, obviously it's warmer. Therefore, you do not have the need to heat the battery. Now it's 22.5 degrees outside here, and my battery is at 20.5 degrees, so no heating needed. And a warmer battery, within its limit, so not over 30 degrees, has a better efficiency. There is less resistance in the battery, and there is more energy in the battery when it's warmer. If you want an explanation on that, I have detailed videos on the channel diving deep into that topic. And also, it can extract that energy way more efficient. And the next one in summertime normally is you have summer tires on your car. As long as you do not have all-season tires, well, there's a big difference between summer and winter tires. Summer tires are more stiff. They have less rolling resistance on the road. Therefore, you have less consumption. Just keep an eye on the air pressure in the tire. And with that, we come to something which might not be so obvious, and that is the temperature of the air. Because in summertime, the temperature is higher, and though the air is thinner, and an air around your car which is thinner leads to less air resistance, especially when driving a bit faster, and that takes into account in summertime. All of this takes into account why there is such a big difference between summer and winter. Although, to be honest, the difference is not as much as it was years ago. It's getting better and better, yet yes, there is the reason for it. At the first stop over in Davos, 24.1 kilowatt hours, 100 kilometers. This is really good. This is 6.5 kilowatt hours, 100 kilometers less than in wintertime. Good average speed because there was no traffic jam up here in Davos. And we've still got 63% left in the battery instead of the 61 the route guidance calculated. In wintertime, it was minus 4.5 degrees up here Celsius. Now it's 22 degrees Celsius. So yes, we could count this as a summer drive. Now we're going that way to Thusis. It's a long way down, and maybe I managed to do this with zero consumption. Let's see how this works out. What I completely forgot to show you, of course, there's a dynamic recalculation of the SOC. Now Thusis is 62%, not 59%. And Mel's back home is 53 instead of 50%. Yes, of course, there is a dynamic recalculation done based on your current consumption. But now let's continue driving. Whilst I'm rolling down to Thusis here, because there is obviously not much to do, just let the car roll. You are still fast enough to go downhill. Well, a bit of advertising, yet on my own behalf. My Škoda E-Guide, how to drive a Škoda EV, with all the details. 8-episode series, which you can find here on YouTube. Well, I highly recommend to watch it if you didn't do so already. It was loved by so many people, so many likes and comments that really helped them out. I explain you everything, from starting with the car, about the assistance systems, about recuperation, regeneration, parking, up to remote parking, and driving efficiently, charging, whatever you want to know. Everything is within those episodes. So just watch it or recommend it to friends, because a happy Škoda EV driver might be the next happy community member of Speicher Elektrisiert, Electrified Speicher. And if these videos really help you out, and I guarantee you, by the way, these videos are way more close to the real world than any manual will ever be, and way more entertaining than manuals, by the way. Well, if they were really of a help for you, then consider to support me. You will find a PayPal link down below the video, or a link to Amazon, where I am affiliate partner, and you can buy whatever you want. You pay the same price, yet I earn a small commission, a small fee goes towards me, and this really helps to maintain and run this channel. And there we are in Thusis with 13.9 kilowatt hours, 100 kilometers, and that is a really good value, as in winter we had 20.1 kilowatt hours, 100 kilometers. It's 62% exactly as estimated, and 379 kilometers. And now let's have a look at the estimation back home. It was 50%, it went up, and still is 53%. So now let's head back home, which is a lot of motorway and highway, so 100 and 120, and then we have the final result. The results are in: 13.7 kilowatt hours, 100 kilometers, and even a bit faster, 60 kilometers an hour instead of 58 kilometers an hour average speed. And yes, we nailed it! 53% SOC as estimated by our route guidance, 320 kilometers left. Compared to the winter with 19.4 kilowatt hours, 100 kilometers, this is really nice and good. So let's head over to the data analytics part of this video. Back from the test drive, let's look at data, and first let's do the comparison between the summer test drive and the winter test drive, which I did with an Elroq 85 as well. Same track, same distance, same starting SOC, and I try to drive as constant as possible on every test drive, so to make it a good comparison. And you see it directly up in Davos at the first stopover. 30.6 kilowatt hours of consumption versus 24.1 kilowatt hours in summertime. And therefore, in summertime, we were there with 63% SOC. In wintertime, just 55% SOC. And again, when we are back in Mel's from the complete test drive, you see the difference didn't change much. 19.4 kilowatt hours, 100 kilometers in wintertime, further 13.7 kilowatt hours in summertime. In wintertime, there were 39% left in the battery. Now in summertime, 53%. And yes, when you do the math, this is roughly 30% less range in wintertime or more consumption, however you want to look at it, than in summertime. And this is pretty normal for an EV. Sometimes it's not that much. It was a rather cold winter drive and a rather warm summer drive, but there it is. Next, let's have a detailed look at the data I grabbed with my OBD adapter and my app, because that gives you a lot of insight what's going on in an EV on such a test drive. And here on that table you see the value, the content, that is how much energy in watt hours is in my battery. The charge value in kilowatt hours is how much I've charged. Since I did not plug in, this is regeneration or regenerative braking, and the discharge is the energy that goes to the motors to drive. And then we can see the consumption, we can see how much we regenerated and how much power went to the motors. And up in Davos you see it took 2/3 of the whole consumption, 14.2 kilowatt hours, to get up there, whilst we only regenerate 900 watt hours or 0.9 kilowatt hours. If you look at the honest value, 15.2 was what I've spent, yet when you just deduct the regeneration, you get that consumption. And now the important part, the way to Thusis. 40 kilometers merely downhill, and we've got a total consumption of 50 watt hours. This is close to nothing. This can also be an error from measurement. And you can see we regenerated 4.3 kilowatt hours and we've spent 4.3 kilowatt hours. Therefore, it's close to nil or 50 watt hours. And then back home to Mel's, we've spent 7.2 kilowatt hours. Again, less regeneration because a lot of motorway, highway, so only 0.8 kilowatt hours regenerated, whilst 7.9 spent. And when you look over the total values of that drive, you see we've spent 27.4 kilowatt hours towards the motors. Yet we regenerated 6 kilowatt hours, and therefore we have a total consumption of 21.5 kilowatt hours for 158 kilometers. And now you can see all the magic of an EV and why it is so important to have a good regenerative braking, but also let the car coast. And I hope these insights were helpful for you. If that is the case, give that video a thumbs up and consider to subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And then I hope we see each other in the next video, and until then, stay full of energy.